Hello everyone, and welcome back. I'm Dr. William Chen, and today we're going to talk about one of the biggest hidden reasons people feel older than they should. If you're waking up more tired, recovering more slowly, losing strength, feeling mentally drained, or noticing that your body just doesn't bounce back the way it used to, the real issue may not simply be age. It may be your mitochondria. Mitochondria are the tiny energy engines inside your cells. They help turn the food you eat and the oxygen you breathe into usable energy. And when they start to decline, everything starts to feel harder. Your muscles don't perform the same way. Your brain doesn't stay as sharp. Your metabolism becomes less efficient. Inflammation rises more easily. Recovery slows down. And little by little, aging begins to feel more visible, more physical, and more limiting. But here's the good news. Mitochondria are not passive. They respond to what you do. They respond to movement. They respond to sleep. They respond to stress. And very importantly, they respond to what you eat every single day. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 foods that may help support mitochondrial health naturally, improve the way your cells produce energy, and create an internal environment that supports healthy aging instead of accelerating decline. And let me be very clear from the start. There is no single magic food that reverses aging overnight. Biology doesn't work that way. But there are foods that send powerful signals to your cells. There are foods that help lower oxidative stress, improve cellular resilience, support metabolic balance, and activate pathways linked to mitochondrial repair and renewal. And when you combine those foods consistently, something important begins to happen. You stop eating only for calories, and you start eating for cellular performance. That is the entire point of this conversation, because most people think aging happens only on the outside. They look in the mirror and they notice skin changes, body composition changes, slower movement, or lower energy. But aging begins much deeper than appearance. It begins in the systems that keep your cells functioning well. It begins in energy production. It begins in the quality of your internal repair systems. It begins in your capacity to handle inflammation, metabolic stress, oxidative stress, and accumulated damage over time. And this is why mitochondria matter so much. When your mitochondria are healthy, your cells produce energy more efficiently. They communicate better. They manage stress better. They recover better. They are more adaptable. But when mitochondria become damaged, old, dysfunctional, or overloaded, the body becomes less resilient. You feel that decline in ways people often call normal aging, even though part of that process is strongly influenced by lifestyle. In other words, yes, aging is real. But accelerated aging is often amplified by how we live. Now think about this. Your body is constantly trying to balance 2 things at the same time. It is trying to produce enough energy to meet daily demands, and it is trying to repair the wear and tear that builds up over the years. If your energy systems are underperforming, that balance gets harder to maintain. The body can still function, but it does so with less flexibility and less reserve. That's when people start saying things like, "I just don't feel like myself anymore," or "I don't know why I'm so tired all the time." Very often, the problem is not laziness. It is not a character flaw. It is biology asking for better support. Now, before we get into the 5 foods, I want to make one important distinction. Supporting mitochondria is not the same thing as chasing quick stimulation. A lot of people are exhausted, so they try to solve the problem with more caffeine, more sugar, more snacking, or more stimulants. That may help for an hour, but it does not rebuild the system. It just pushes a tired system harder. What we want is not artificial energy. We want better cellular energy production. And that takes a different strategy. The best mitochondrial foods do not merely excite you. They support the current machinery of cellular performance. Some help protect mitochondrial membranes. Some help lower inflammation. Some activate pathways involved in repair. Some support the body's defense antioxidants. Some improve blood flow and nutrient delivery. Some help your metabolism become more flexible and stable. That is why I don't want you to think in terms of a single superfood. I want you to think in terms of a mitochondrial support pattern. So let's build that pattern together. Fatty fish. If there is one food group that deserves serious respect in any conversation about healthy aging, it is fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, anchovies, and other omega-3 rich fish provide fats that become part of your cell membranes, including the membranes around mitochondria, and that matters more than people realize. Your mitochondria are not just little batteries floating around in your cells. They are dynamic structures with membranes that have to function efficiently. The quality of those membranes affects how well mitochondria operate. Omega-3 fats help support membrane fluidity, cellular signaling, and inflammatory balance. They may also support muscle health, brain function, and cardiovascular resilience, all of which are deeply connected to aging well. One of the biggest hidden problems in modern nutrition is that many people are overfed in calories, but undernourished in the fats that help their cells function properly. They eat plenty of processed food, seed oil-heavy junk meals, refined snacks, and sugar-loaded products, but very little omega-3 rich whole food. And when that happens over years, inflammation tends to climb, while cellular resilience tends to fail. Fatty fish helps correct that. It also gives you high-quality protein, which becomes increasingly important as we age. If you want to maintain muscle, support repair, and preserve metabolic strength, protein matters. But what makes fatty fish especially powerful is that it brings both protein and anti-inflammatory fats into the same meal. That is a very efficient biological package. So how often should you have it? A simple target is 2 to 4 times per week. If you can do 3, that is excellent. If you can do 4 smaller servings, that is also strong. The goal is regularity, not perfection. And if you're someone who rarely eats fish at all, just adding it consistently could be a meaningful change. Now let me be clear. Fish alone will not rebuild your mitochondria, but it gives your cells better raw material to work with. It helps lower noise in the system. It supports healthy signaling. And when your cells are less inflamed, your energy systems work better. The second food is extra virgin olive oil. This is one of the most underrated longevity foods in the world. People often think of olive oil simply as a healthier fat, but good extra virgin olive oil is much more than that. It is rich in polyphenols, compounds that help protect cells from oxidative stress, and may influence pathways related to inflammation, vascular health, and cellular defense. Your mitochondria produce energy, but in the process, they also generate byproducts that can contribute to oxidative stress. That is a normal part of life. The problem comes when the load becomes too high and the defenses are too weak. Over time, oxidative stress can damage proteins, membranes, DNA, and mitochondrial function itself. That is one reason why polyphenol-rich foods matter so much. Extra virgin olive oil is not just fat. It is information. It tells the body to calm inflammatory signaling. It supports the health of blood vessels. It helps improve the overall metabolic environment. And healthier blood vessels mean better delivery of oxygen and nutrients to tissues that depend on mitochondrial performance. Remember, mitochondria don't work in isolation. If circulation is poor, if inflammation is high, if metabolism is unstable, then even good mitochondria are being asked to perform under difficult conditions. That is why a food like extra virgin olive oil is so helpful. It improves the terrain. There is another reason I like it so much in an anti-aging pattern. It is easy to use consistently. You can drizzle it over vegetables, legumes, salads, fish, soups, even grains. You can build it into your normal routine without needing a complicated protocol. And that matters because the best health strategy is the one you can actually repeat. What kind should you use? Real extra virgin olive oil. Not fake blends. Not heavily refined versions. You want a high-quality oil with a peppery or because those characteristics often reflect polyphenol content. And how much? 1 to 2 tablespoons per day as part of meals is a simple, realistic target for many people. Again, this is not about adding random calories. It is about upgrading the chemistry of your meals. If the fats in your diet are poor, your cells pay the price. If the fats in your diet are protective, your cells benefit. The third food is green tea. This is one of my favorite mitochondrial supporting beverages because it is gentle, strategic, and deeply studied. Green tea contains catechins, especially egg-jig, that may help activate pathways involved in cellular resilience, metabolic regulation, and antioxidant defense. It is not just a drink that wakes you up, it is a plant signal. And this is important because one of the biggest problems in aging is that the body becomes less efficient at cleanup and repair. Old components accumulate. Damaged parts are not removed as effectively. Cells become noisier, less coordinated, and less responsive. Supporting pathways related to repair, stress adaptation, and metabolic flexibility becomes very valuable as we get older. Green tea appears to help in that direction. It may support the body's own defense systems rather than simply acting as an external shield. It may help influence AMP-related signaling, which is often discussed in the context of energy sensing and metabolic health. And anything that helps the body better sense and manage energy demand has relevance to mitochondrial performance. Now, I don't want to exaggerate this. Green tea is not a miracle. It is not a cure. But it is one of those rare daily habits that can quietly add up over time. It is easy to consume. It has a long cultural history. It fits naturally into routines. And compared with sugar-heavy drinks, energy beverages, and processed coffee dessert hybrids, it sends a very different message to the body. If your current beverage routine is driving blood sugar spikes, overstimulation, dehydration, or poor sleep, your mitochondria are not getting support. They are getting mixed signals. Green tea offers a cleaner pattern. A simple goal is 2 to 3 cups a day, depending on your tolerance for caffeine. If you are sensitive, you can have it earlier in the day. If you prefer a lighter approach, even 1 or 2 cups consistently is still useful. The point is not to force a perfect number. The point is to create a recurring cellular signal that supports a healthier energy environment. Now let's move to the fourth food, and this is a big one. Berries, especially deeply colored berries like blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries. These fruits are rich in polyphenols, including anthocyanins, and they are among the most intelligent ways to bring anti-aging compounds into the diet without turning food into a chemistry experiment. Berries are not helpful because they are trendy. They are helpful because they deliver dense plant compounds in a form that the body and the microbiome can work with. And I want to pause on that word microbiome, because if we are talking about mitochondria and aging, we cannot ignore the gut. Your gut and your mitochondria are part of the same larger health conversation. The compounds in berries do not just act directly on your cells, they also interact with your gut microbes, and those interactions can produce additional beneficial effects that influence inflammation, metabolism, and resilience. This is one of the reasons berries punch above their weight. They are relatively low in calories, relatively high in protective chemistry, and easy to incorporate into breakfast, snacks, or desserts. They help replace worse choices, and importantly, they support a pattern of eating that is based on nutrient density instead of empty stimulation. Oxidative stress is one of the major accelerators of mitochondrial decline. The more your cells are exposed to chronic stress, poor diet, high blood sugar variability, inflammation, and toxic overload, the harder it becomes to maintain high-quality function. Berries help tilt the balance back toward protection. And no, that does not mean fruit sugar is suddenly the answer to aging. I am talking about whole berries, not berry-flavored snacks, not sugary juices, not candy. Real berries, whole food, real structure, real fiber, real polyphenols. A practical target could be half a cup to 1 cup per day, or at least several times a week. Fresh or frozen both work. What matters most is consistency. If you start your day with processed pastry and sweetened coffee, you are starting from metabolic chaos. If instead you start with something like plain yogurt, berries, chia seeds, and maybe a handful of walnuts, that is a completely different biological message. That meal supports energy stability rather than energy collapse. And that is what healthy aging really is, a long series of better signals. Now for the fifth food, cruciferous vegetables. This group includes broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, arugula, bok choy, and similar vegetables. These foods are incredibly valuable because they contain compounds such as glucosinolates, which can be converted into biologically active molecules like sulforaphane. And those compounds have drawn attention for their role in cellular defense, detoxification support, antioxidant signaling, and healthy aging pathways. Cruciferous vegetables do not just give you vitamins, they help activate the body's own protective systems. That matters because healthy aging is not simply about consuming antioxidants. It is about improving how well the body defends itself, repairs itself, and responds to stress. Mitochondria are highly sensitive to stress load. If the body is constantly exposed to poor inputs, low-grade inflammation, and a lack of protective plant compounds, mitochondrial decline becomes easier. Cruciferous vegetables help strengthen the background systems that keep that decline from accelerating. And let me tell you something else about them. These vegetables are powerful, partly because they are ordinary. They do not require a celebrity label. They do not come in a luxury package. They do not need a dramatic marketing campaign. But inside the body, they are doing deeply sophisticated work. This is one of the biggest truths in nutrition. The foods that protect us most are often the least glamorous. How much should you aim for? A simple goal is at least one serving a day, and ideally more across the week. That could mean steamed broccoli with dinner, arugula in a salad, cabbage in a bowl, cauliflower in a soup, or Brussels sprouts roasted with olive oil. Again, it does not have to be complicated. It has to be repeated. Now let's pull this all together, because this is where people usually get confused. They hear 5 foods and they start thinking they need a strict perfection plan. You don't. What you need is a repeatable framework. Fatty fish helps support membrane health, anti-inflammatory balance, and muscle support. Extra virgin olive oil brings polyphenols and supports vascular and inflammatory health. Green tea provides plant compounds that may support metabolic signaling and cellular resilience. Berries deliver concentrated polyphenols that help protect cells and support a healthy internal environment. Cruciferous vegetables activate defense pathways that help the body deal with stress more effectively. And when these foods become part of your normal week, they begin to create a different terrain inside the body. That terrain matters, because aging is not just about what time does to us. It is about how well the body responds to time. It is about how much damage accumulates versus how much repair remains possible. It is about whether your cells are getting what they need to perform well, or whether they are being buried under poor inputs day after day. This is why I want to say something that might change the way you think about food. Every meal either funds resilience or drains it. Every meal either supports better signaling or worsens confusion. Every meal either helps your mitochondria do their job or makes the system work harder with fewer resources. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like breakfast built on structure instead of sugar. Maybe plain Greek yogurt, berries, chia seeds, and a drizzle of olive oil if you want to experiment in a savory direction, or maybe walnuts and cinnamon. Maybe eggs with sautéed kale and green tea on the side. Maybe oatmeal with berries and seeds, not a dessert disguised as breakfast. It looks like lunch with real food. A salad with arugula, broccoli sprouts, olive oil, beans, and grilled salmon. A bowl with cabbage, lentils, roasted cauliflower, herbs, and sardines. A simple plate of vegetables, olive oil, and protein instead of grabbing packaged food that tastes convenient but delivers metabolic confusion. It looks like dinner that includes color, fiber, and intention. Roasted Brussels sprouts with fish, steamed broccoli with olive oil and herbs, a side of sautéed bok choy, a berry bowl for dessert instead of processed sweets, green tea earlier in the day instead of stimulants that damage sleep. Because let's not forget this, your mitochondria also depend on sleep. If your evening habits ruin your sleep, your daytime food choices are working uphill. Repair happens in rhythm. Energy is not just about nutrients. It is about timing, recovery, light exposure, movement, and metabolic stability. That is why I don't want you to hear this video as 5 isolated food tips. I want you to hear it as a strategy for lowering the friction inside your biology. Now, some people are going to ask, how quickly will I feel a difference? That depends on where you're starting. If your current diet is highly processed, low in fiber, low in polyphenols, low in omega-3s, and high in sugar and inflammatory overload, then even modest changes may feel noticeable within a few weeks. You may feel more stable energy, better recovery, fewer crashes, better digestion, and improved mental clarity. If you already eat fairly well, the changes may feel more subtle at first, but the long-term value is still there. The key is not intensity. The key is consistency. Because mitochondria do not care about your motivation speech. They care about repeated signals. They care about what you do on ordinary Tuesdays. They care about what your plate looks like most of the time. They care about patterns. And this is exactly where many people fail. They chase a perfect week, then collapse back into an old lifestyle. But healthy aging is not built on dramatic bursts. It is built on sustainable repetition. So if I were going to turn this into a simple weekly protocol for you, it would sound like this. Eat fatty fish at least 2 to 4 times per week. Use real extra virgin olive oil daily. Drink 1 to 3 cups of green tea most days if it works for your body. Eat berries regularly, ideally daily or close to it. Get cruciferous vegetables into your meals as often as possible, aiming for at least 1 serving a day. That alone would put many people in a completely different biological category from where they are now. And if you combine that with strength training, walking, good sleep, blood sugar control, and reduced ultra-processed food intake, you are not just eating healthy. You are actively building an internal environment that supports better energy and slower aging. Now, I also want to speak to those of you who are feeling discouraged. Maybe you already feel older than your age. Maybe your energy has been low for a long time. Maybe you have gained weight, lost strength, or started to believe that decline is just inevitable. I want you to know this. The body is often more responsive than people think. It may not change overnight. It may not respond perfectly, but it answers. Cells are listening all the time. They are listening to your food, your sleep, your stress, your movement, your recovery, your choices. And while none of us can stop time, we can absolutely change how much unnecessary stress we pile onto the system. That is one of the most empowering truths in medicine. You may not control your exact age, but you have a powerful influence over how your biology experiences that age. So if you remember one message from this video, let it be this. Aging is not just the passing of years. Aging is the passing of years through cells that are either supported or neglected. And mitochondria are one of the places where that difference becomes visible. Support them, and your body often gives you more energy, better resilience, stronger recovery, and better odds of aging well. Ignore them, and the decline tends to feel steeper. That is why these 5 foods matter. Not because they are trendy, not because they promise fantasy, but because they help create the conditions in which healthier aging becomes more possible. Fatty fish, extra virgin olive oil, green tea, berries, cruciferous vegetables, simple foods, powerful signals, better biology. And if you start feeding your cells differently, don't be surprised if your future starts feeling different too. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm Dr. William Chen, and I hope this video gave you a new way to think about energy, aging, and what your food is really doing inside your body. Start simple, stay consistent, and remember, your cells are always responding to what you repeat. Feed them wisely, protect your mitochondria, and give yourself the best chance to age with strength, clarity, and vitality. Thanks again for watching. Take care, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.